all, welcome to ShareTreck. This is Saturday and this is going to be a CRISPR Saturday Shorts video. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, and I hope you're all having a good time. If you are new to this channel and viewing this video for the first time, please like, share and subscribe. It will help the channel a lot, and you'll find a lot of useful information about CRISPR stocks out here. So let us get started with today's topic, and it's going to be on my thesis of being bullish on CRISPR. So I'm more or less betting a lot on CRISPR of late, and there are some reasons, and I want to share that with you today. This is the segment which I call established wisdom. Unique advantages enable a company to establish premium value, and great management enables it to capitalize on it and to stay in the cutting edge of its industry. So what do I mean by that? Let us take an example. The first example that comes to mind obviously is Tesla. They just recently announced blockbuster results, and they are doing very well. So I'm going to take the example of Tesla. So Tesla started pioneering the electronic vehicle industry. They succeeded, and they came up with a nice vehicle which motivated the rest of the auto industry to go towards EV. It also motivated companies to take electric vehicles more seriously. They could have just rested at that. If they did that, what would have happened is other companies would have caught up and they wouldn't have retained their advantage anymore. However, instead they continued innovating. They started with doing a lot of research on batteries and putting up battery plants and working on battery technology. Then they started working on the structure of their cars so that the batteries could be part of the structure. They started working on software to control the charging of the batteries so that the batteries can last longer. Then they went on to make new models for their cars. And right now their focus is more on FSD, that is full self-driving. And the logic behind that is, if full self-driving is completed, it's a part of a learning process, it's a AI. Once it is completed, when they go into robotics, which is their next focus, they can use everything that was learned here and use it in robotics so that the robots can navigate much more efficiently, and there will be a shorter learning curve for the robots to become much more proficient, and it will be easier to market. And then Tesla would have leapfrogged and attained such a unique advantage and retained the advantage, as opposed to all other companies which venture into the EV following the Tesla bandwagon. So this is what I mean by saying that if a company has a unique advantage and it has a great management, then the great management can capitalize on the unique advantage to keep on working to maintain the cutting edge of the industry, and thus staying above the fray and being a leader and continuing to have more and more unique advantages and stay ahead of the pack. And the reason I am bullish about CRISPR is that CRISPR has got one such advantage. So to begin with, let us start with first things first. We need to understand key terms here. The qualitative difference between two approaches that are taken in most of the trials that are happening right now for CRISPR based therapies. One is the allogenic approach, the other is the autologous approach. The primary difference between allogenic and autologous are the source of cells for the therapy. Allogenic therapies are manufactured in large batches from unrelated donor tissues. These could come from bone marrow or some other component of the body. And it's not from the same patient, it's from somewhere else or some other donor. Whereas autologous therapies are manufactured as a single lot from the patient being treated. So they would take the cells from the patient and then modify it and put it back into the body. Now, there are some advantages and there are some challenges. So if we look at the usage metrics, most of the phase 2 and 3 companies use autologous approach. These were the initial approaches that were taken towards the candidates that are currently in phase 2 and 3, and mainly because of the fact that the body doesn't reject very easily its own cells. So because autologous approach uses the cells from the same patient, donor cells from the same patient, it's much more easily accepted by the body, and it also avoids rejection, which leads to what is called as a graft versus host disease, GVHD in short. So autologous approach has got very low incidence of GVHD, and therefore it is more likely to succeed, and that's why they reach phase 2 and phase 3 trials. And since the initial days for CRISPR based therapies was very challenging, it was much more convenient to take the autologous approach in order to give proof of concept and get widespread acceptance in the industry. Having succeeded in getting candidates almost close to FDA approval, for example, CRISPR Therapeutics and Vertex have already got the sickle cell therapy almost very close to approval, and with monetization just around the horizon, companies are all turning their attention to being much more efficient in terms of production, distribution, and administration of these therapies, so that it can be much more commercially viable and be less cost prohibitive. Because right now the cost of these gene therapies are very exorbitant, and that's going to be a challenge in its uptake. So many companies are now going on to explore more of the allogenic approach. And if we look at the more preclinical and phase 1 candidates right now, they are all much more following the allogenic approach. And that's also because there are some advantages for allogenic. And the advantages are that, first of all, it is cheaper. Because you are not going to look at a particular patient and set them up for extraction of these cells. You don't have to create a location where those patients can be handled. You don't have to have geographical dispersion of those locations. So there are a lot of those advantages. There's no need for prepping the patient to retrieve cells, etc. The other advantage is that allogenic preparation of therapies can be easily automated. And when you automate anything, the cost comes down significantly. And it also lends itself to off-the-shelf product. And probably this could be a precursor to start looking at more of anytime medicine, where you can have some kind of automated dispensation of these medicines without too much of human interaction, which are, of course, a very futuristic concept. It's way down the line. But just like we moved from autologous and we are exploring allogenic, the potential is there for anytime medicine going forward. There is reduced dependence on the patient's T cell, and this is an advantage because in some cases, I don't know what is the percentage of it, but in some cases the patient is so sick that their T cell is not robust enough to accept the modification and also perform efficiently in the body. So in that case, allogenic cells are going to be much more robust, and they can afford much better performance in the therapy that is being done for the patient. So that is another advantage that there is there. But in terms of challenges, the main challenge for allogenic approach is GVHD. And it's also a question of ensuring robust in vivo activation of the therapy and persistence and expansion within the body after its administration. These are the three challenges that allogenic approach faces right now. So it's an advantage for CRISPR Therapeutics because CTX110, which is a wholly owned program of CRISPR Therapeutics, there is no partnership in there. It's a healthy donor-derived gene-edited allogenic CAR-T investigational therapy targeting cluster of differentiation 19 or CD19. CTX110 is being investigated in the ongoing Carbon trial. The ongoing phase 1 single-arm multi-center open-label clinical trial Carbon is designed to assess the safety and efficacy of several dose levels of CTX110 for the treatment of relapsed or refractory B-cell malignancies. So at this stage, CRISPR Therapeutics appears to be in the forefront of being able to combat GVHD response in patients using an allogenic method. So if CRISPR were to succeed in staying ahead of the pack, then CRISPR already has got partnership with various other companies for its know-how. It can have much more revenue coming through allogenic approach, because once therapies are derived using allogenic approach, and CRISPR works with its partners and comes up with those kind of therapies, it's going to be adding much more to the gross profit margin, first of all, because the cost of production and potential of automation is going to make it much easier to produce at lower cost levels. and therefore the ability to offer the therapy at much cheaper cost is going to be higher. This is going to lead to a greater uptake of the therapy, which again helps to ramp up the scales. It's possible to scale up using allogenic approach much faster and easily, and as you scale up, the economies of scale come in, and therefore the cost of production goes down further. And also this is a model which most of the pharmaceutical companies are comfortable with at this point of time, because that's how they operate, and then it falls easily into their marketing and sales playbook, and the cost of marketing and sales will also decrease, and with greater profitability, and there's going to be greater revenue revenue share coming in for CRISPR Therapeutics. So this is what makes me feel much more bullish about CRISPR. Potentially it's first off the block with sickle cell cure, that is number one, which I have always been saying. Therefore, CRISPR Therapeutics along with Vertex is likely to earn monetization benefits much earlier than anybody else, potentially by the end of this year, in my opinion, or potentially first quarter of 2023. Again, this is my opinion, and please do not make any investment decision based on my opinions, because these are just opinions. Do your own research and due diligence before taking any steps, but I am just sharing with you why I am bullish. So this reason I have already shared with you before. The second is the revenue sharing deals that CRISPR Therapeutics has got with other companies is going to ensure that with very less cost, CRISPR is going to get more recurring revenues on an ongoing basis as the other collaborating companies succeed in marketing the products. So that is the other factor. The next factor is that they have got good cash balance so far, so I do not fear any equity dilution happening with CRISPR. So with the lack of equity dilution, the share prices can only go up as benefits start accruing for the company. Now, the allogenic advantage that we spoke about is an icing on top of the cake. So if CRISPR Therapeutics was able to standardize their approach to reduce GVHD and come up with some methodologies that can be replicated across therapies, then that can be an added advantage that they can monetize with their existing partnership and potentially new partnership, as well as provide cost benefit for various companies so that they could clamor for partnership with CRISPR Therapeutics, thus making them the preferred technology partner. This is the reason why I'm feeling very bullish, and I think you would also agree that all these factors seem to be more convincing. I would like to hear your thoughts about this. I'm starting to gather more and more fundamental analysis. I must confess that initially when I started the YouTube channel, my focus was more on EVs and technology companies, and only a small part of it was on CRISPR. But since the audience of our channel is more focused on CRISPR, I found that I need to put more attention on CRISPR, and I've been doing that for the last month or so. And I am gathering more fundamental analysis on CRISPR. So as we go ahead, you will notice more and more Saturday shorts and potentially Sunday segments being on more fundamental aspects of the CRISPR industry and CRISPR companies in particular. Today is the first one of its kind. Please let me know if you like these kind of videos, and I can come up with more of them for you. And thanks for your support. Please put a like there for this video. It helps more people to discover the channel and gives me much more clout when I go out to try and get candidates who will come for interview with our channel and provide us more insight into the CRISPR industry. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye for now.